What is going on, guys? This is Versus All Gaming with my review of Noragami episode 9, and this episode, it definitely had to happen. Finally, Yukine's character had been redeemed, and now I'm pretty sure everybody's going to start liking him, because I do look up this series and I do look up what people post about it, and I see that a lot of people, they were definitely frustrated with Yukine, but now his character, it has finally developed a lot, which it definitely need. And now I feel like that people will stop hating him and start liking him. So the episode, of course, it starts off with Yato, Hiyori, and Yukine. They go to Kofuku and Daikaku, and of course we all know that they need their help. But as we saw in the last episode, Daikaku put up that borderline, and we see that he only lets Hiyori in. And so right away, you know, he already knows what to do. He gets Kofuku to take Hiyori to go take a bath, because that's the only way to clean the blood off of her. And sadly, you know, that won't work on Yato anymore. As this case, it is just so freaking severe. And so now we have Daikaku. He plans on doing a thing called an ablution. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But to do this, he needs two more regalias, because first he needs 3, and of course he can't do them by himself. So he goes around, you know, asking people if he can use one, and the only person that, you know, he can go to, it was Tenjin. And of course, you know, we have these sisters here, and they knew about the ablution, and of course they knew the risk it took. One of the regalias actually knew somebody that even, you know, did one, but sadly, you know, she didn't know what happened to her, and she like never heard from again. But we have Mayu, who definitely kind of owes, you know, Yato here, so she does agree to go. And so then we have Daikaku going around, and he's asking, well, he's like going to all these shrines, and sadly we don't see the gods, but he goes to the shrines, and he asks them about, you know, borrowing regalia, because he needs just one more, and he could definitely save Yato. And so eventually, after Hiyori is done washing the blood off of her, we see that she overhears this phone call that Kofuku and Daikaku has, and we know that he can't find one, so Hiyori here gets this bright idea to go get one. And the only person that she could think of, well, first she thought of Nora, but of course that's not possible, because we all know if Nora went, we are pretty sure, you know, what would have happened. So she goes to Bishamon's shrine, and she's calling for Kazuma over and over, and we see that like Bishamon, she's having this meeting with all her regalias, and we see that like this little girl, who's apparently Kazuma's like little sister, she actually goes to him and tell him that, you know, that he has somebody out there calling him for a while now, and he was saying, you know, just to ignore her, because, you know, she's like really rude when she didn't even bow. So of course, you know, Hiyori's not giving up, and eventually he does come. So Daikaku actually returns, and even though, you know, he only has one other regalia, it better than nothing. And we have Yukine, who was definitely annoying me at first, because, you know, he just had this like non-caring attitude. And we see at one point, you know, we have Daikaku even threatening him to kill him if he moved, but that threat right there really didn't hold up, as Yukine didn't care. He started leaving. But luckily we have Kazuma and Hiyori who had appeared, and, you know, he had blocked him off, so he couldn't go anywhere. And I definitely feel like the only reason why he was leaving was because he felt guilty. So I do feel like Kazuma was like right when he said that. But it does not take long before they get started. But before they do, they actually tell Yukine to take off his shirt, and we see that he those are covered in blight, but it's like mainly on his back, and he has all these eyes, you know, coming out of it. And even though that right there was creepy, it definitely set the mood for the episode. So eventually they have to get started, and this ablution here is where they use the borderlines, and the regalia that they are like punishing or cleansing, I should say, they have to admit all of their sins, and if they don't, then the blight will spread more, and eventually they'll become a phantom. And so at first, you know, Yukine was definitely in pain, and he really didn't want to admit it, even though he kind of did. He was not apologizing for it, he was just admitting it and not really caring. And we just see that the blight, it was like spreading more and more. And we just see eventually, you know, it started covering up his name, and that's when things start getting serious. And so then we see that he actually started becoming a phantom, as we saw these wings coming out, but inside his mind now we actually got like his inner thoughts. And, you know, he was definitely always jealous of people, because basically because he's dead, he has nothing. He has no friends, no family, no memories. He has nothing. So that right there, like, it really got to him, and that kind of, drove him over the edge. Once he realized that, and so eventually, this blight or his darkness, so to say, it was definitely winning as we saw him turning, and I definitely felt bad for the guy, but it came to a point where he had, to admit these things. I was definitely worried that, he wouldn't, because we see at some point he was like walking, and we see that he was like slowly losing his regalia or human self. And we first saw him like lose his like human appearance, where he became a spirit, and he was like walking off into the darkness. And Yato had realized that he had to say his name before it was too late, because even the mark that he gave him, it was starting to cover up. But Yato was just in so much pain here that it was like hard for him to talk. But thank God for Hiyori, because she actually stepped up, and she was actually able to like reach through to Yukine, because when she mentioned them, being friends, of course, that right there really hit home, because for somebody that has nothing, as he would say, a friend to him, it would definitely mean a lot. So I'm pretty sure he was glad to hear those words. So after he finally came to his senses, and he started admitting everything, I was just so glad that this finally happened, because it needed to. And so once he broke down, started crying, we see that the phantom inside of him was going away, and he admitted to all these things about stealing the money, stealing that skateboard, and of course lying all this time. He finally let it all out, and we just see that he broke down, but it was definitely in a good way, because this goes to show you how much his character has grown. So Yukine, you are definitely good in my book again. You're no more annoying. I'm glad where you are right now, and I want me to stay that way. So once it was all over, we have Yukine and Yato. They're fine now, but we see that they're like covered in all these bruises. So clearly they definitely need to rest up. And we have Mayu, Daikaku, and Kazuma. They were definitely exhausted after all this, but luckily nobody died. And we have Hiyori, who was like looking at them, and she was just so sad that she couldn't hold it anymore, because she was so happy that she had went toward him and hugged him. And so Yato was thinking, if it wasn't for Yukine, for Hiyori, then this definitely, wouldn't have ended well. Because if Hiyori had went to go get Nora, then the pain that Yato was feeling, it would have been so unbearable that he might have had no choice but to kill Yukine. Because even at one point, Kazuma was saying that Daikaku should like transform and kill him. So we see that Hiyori definitely made the right choice by going to Kazuma, and she basically said to everybody, because if she never spoke out to Yukine, because Yato definitely couldn't, then he would have became a phantom. So she definitely saved them both, and this is why Hiyori's character is so important in the story. Like I'm glad that her character is around, because we definitely need her. So I will say that this episode, it definitely had a lot more character development. So overall, episode was like really good. But then at the end of the credits, we have Nora here, who's at like this creepy cemetery or at someplace, and we finally learned that the name of this guy that she was hanging with, his name is Rabo, and I'm thinking that he's a Regalia, and he could be the one that Yukine killed, a long time ago. That could be him, because he was definitely wondering if Yato here was the true god of calamity. So Rabo, could want revenge on Yato. So now I do wonder, what kind of role would this character play? Because this was not the first time we've seen this guy. After Daikaku got off the phone earlier in the episode, we saw him appear for like a second, and then he was gone. But I do think that Rabo was the Regalia that Yato killed. Now, hopefully they will confirm that soon, but I do feel like Nora and Rabo, they are definitely going to make a move soon. But like I said, this episode was really good. We definitely got this much needed character development for Yukine. I'm pretty sure now everybody should be fine with him, because I definitely know he is fine with me. But as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe, because that really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.